FPL Game Week 1 First Draft on the FPL Joe YouTube channel. FPL is officially back for the 2026-27 season. With less than 2 weeks to go before the Game Week 1 deadline, I'm finally happy enough with my first draft to share it. For those of you who are new here, my name is FPL Joe. I create short, highly focused Fantasy Premier League content, condensing all my research and analysis into weekly videos. It's been a very busy summer. I was finally able to launch FPLJoe.com, where you can find live market projections for goals, clean sheets, and scorelines, with historical charts for every single fixture. In just 3 months, the site has already surpassed 100,000 visitors, and it's only going to get better, with 3 huge new features dropping very soon. And now, I'm back on YouTube, and looking forward to another season of FPL content. No surprise, there's already been a lot to process in the run-up to Game Week 1. We've got 3 newly promoted teams, along with several managerial changes and major transfers. Key players have received major price increases, while others have dropped into very attractive price brackets. So before revealing the squad itself, I want to explain the strategy behind it. My current plan is to bench boost in Game Week 2, with the open possibility of wildcarding in Game Week 4. Let's start with the bench boost. The difficult thing about holding this chip is that, for many managers, it influences every transfer they make up until when they use it. An early bench boost avoids a lot of these complications. We can use the unlimited transfers in Game Week 1 to build a complete squad, attack promising fixtures in Game Week 1 or 2, and then spend the remainder of the first half of the season focusing on your starting lineup, while team value is still a limiting factor. There's also a psychological benefit. Overall ranks are extremely compressed and volatile at the beginning of the season, and it's completely normal to be several million places away from where you eventually hope to finish, and we shouldn't be judging our ranks after only a couple of weeks. But if an early bench boost helps you avoid feeling as though you're already behind, that can make it easier to remain patient and make objective decisions. And with a game like FPL, undervaluing the impact of mentality usually means overestimating the viability of long-term planning. So why Game Week 2 specifically? One fixture, Coventry versus Hull. Coventry and Hull are both newly promoted sides, but Hull are not a normal promoted side. Their expected numbers last season would have seen them relegated from the Championship. Instead, they've been promoted into the Premier League. They are without doubt the team to target this year. And on top of that, FPL have also priced all promoted defenders at just 4 million this season. That gives us the unusual combination of an extremely cheap bench and a genuinely strong fixture. Coventry's meeting with Hull is their best fixture of the first half of the season, and one of the best opportunities that we'll have to deploy promoted players at both ends of the pitch. We'll revisit the wildcard later, starting with clean sheet projections from game weeks 1 through to 3. These projections combine the live market odds from FPLJoe.com for game week 1 with extended projections from the incredible free 11ify.com model for game weeks 2 and 3. The main defensive standouts are Arsenal and Man United. Arsenal combined the strongest defensive unit in the league with Coventry at home in game week 1, but even when their fixtures become more difficult against Aston Villa and Chelsea, their projected clean sheet chances remain exceptionally strong. Man United's defence is less convincing, but their fixtures are even better. They face Hull and Ipswich before travelling to Everton, and their defenders are generally cheaper than the strongest Man City options. Further down the table, Bournemouth and Coventry are the teams that make the Game Week 2 bench boost possible. So my backline is going to be starting with Raya, Mosquera and Calafiori. Saliba is expected to be out for several months, and Arsenal will expect to be slightly more vulnerable without him, but his absence also improves Mosquera's route into the team. My plan is to trust Arsenal's defensive numbers during the opening fixtures while accepting that this doesn't have to be a permanent structure. If the defence is weaker than expected, or Mosquera's minutes become uncertain, a Game Week 4 wildcard offers the easy bailout. Calafiori adds another dimension. If he holds his place on the left, he has the ability to contribute in advanced areas. That gives us a route into both Arsenal's clean sheets and a share of the highly distributed attacking threat that they offer. The final starter is Harry Maguire. This graphic from Alex Vollo shows the combination we're targeting. Maguire offers strong set-piece expected goals, while his opponents during the first 5 games are some of the worst for conceding these situations. Following Casemiro's departure, Maguire is the next in line as the aerial target, a role that historically he has filled on the back of Bruno's assist record-breaking season. Hull and Ipswich therefore present an excellent opportunity, both for clean sheets and attacking returns. And then on the bench, we've got Petrovic, Van Uwijk and Thomas. These are not players being selected because we expect them to produce premium level returns across the season. They're budget priced assets who, in Game Week 2, have projections on par with much more expensive players, which is exactly the type of opportunity the early bench boost should be targeting. Now let's switch from clean sheets to goals. Man City, Arsenal, Man United and Liverpool lead the attacking options, with Brighton and Brentford boasting attractive numbers at much cheaper prices. Coventry land lower overall, but actually placed 6th for projected goals in Game Week 2. You may notice that I've not highlighted Arsenal. Their attacking strength is obvious, but their output has historically been widely distributed, and with so much of Arsenal's output generated from set pieces, defenders convert a considerable portion of that output. Plus, a season on, we're still lacking certainty around the intended roles of Gyökeres and Havertz. For now, I prefer the defensive triple up. So moving on to midfield, I've gone with Elliot Anderson, Bruno Fernandes, Szoboszlai, Wirtz, and Mamadou Sangare. Anderson is one of the more uncertain picks. His moves to City place him in a team with a very different dynamic to that of Forest. However, if his DEFCON output remains strong while supplying players like Haaland, he could offer several routes to points and a very cheap entry point into the City attack. One player with a lot more certainty is Bruno. He's a lock in my draft, having broken the Premier League record with 21 assists last season, 24 if counting fantasy assists, and begins his campaign against Hull and Ipswich. He is expensive, but the fixtures offer an exceptionally high ceiling, and he could be a worthy captaincy option in both Game Week 1 and 2. We then have a Liverpool double-up in Szoboszlai and Wirtz. Both are priced generously for players in one of the league's strongest attacks. Wirtz faced a disappointing first Liverpool season, but Iraola's system may finally place him in the position that suits him best, operating as a number 10 close behind Alexander Isak. We saw Krupi Jr. thrive in an equivalent similar role under Iraola at Bournemouth, scoring a whopping 13 goals in his debut season. Szoboszlai, on the other hand, starts at 7 million. There is uncertainty around penalty order, but Isak's fitness record means Szoboszlai should still expect to receive a portion of opportunities from the spot. He also offers assists, set pieces, and a staggering capacity for long-range goals. And then lastly, Sangare, who has recorded outstanding defensive contribution numbers for Lens, and while we shouldn't expect a 1-to-1 conversion rate on his arrival into a new team and league, even a sizable drop still leaves him amongst the strongest DEFCON midfielders available. At 5.5 million, he could go on to become this season's Elliot Anderson. We do have a safer alternative available in Pascal Gross. He's established Premier League quality, has many routes to points, is expected to be on penalties if Brighton don't sign a new striker, and represents fantastic long-term value with a great fixture run. However, Sangare has the superior immediate fixture run, and if there's anything like Anderson of last season, he could well go on to be fixture-proof. If we're genuinely targeting upside in the opening 3 weeks, he's the more natural fit. And then finally, onto forwards, we've got Calvert-Lewin, Erling Haaland, and Haji Wright. Haaland requires very little explanation. He has a history of explosive starts to the season, as seen in this excellent graphic from Rob T, and in Game Week 3, he hosts Coventry. Short of a wildcard in Game Week 2, or a free hit in Game Week 3, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who's comfortable foregoing him for that fixture. And then, onto DCL. He can be an exceptionally frustrating player to own, but as the focal point of the Leeds attack, he consistently produces strong underlying numbers. In fact, as seen in this graphic which I produced, he sits top of the table for projected season-long goals per million. So with solid opening fixtures and the long-term hold potential, he's my pick of the 6 million strikers. Haji Wright then completes the Coventry triple-up. At 5.5 million, he is cheaper than alternative forwards such as Brian Brobby and Dominic Solanke, with the exact fixture in Game Week 2 that my chip strategy is designed to target. And that completes my Game Week 1 squad. Now let's take a look further, starting with the Game Week 2 Bench Boost. We'll be activating the Bench Boost on Petrovic at home to Everton, and Wright, Van Uyck and Thomas at home to Hull, offering some of the best projected goals and clean sheet odds of Game Week 2, despite only investing an extra 1.5 million into the bench. And then moving on to Game Week 4. This is where the fixtures start to turn, and considerations of a wildcard come into play. United host City, while Chelsea go from Arsenal away in Game Week 3 to Hull at home in Game Week 4, the biggest 1-week fixture swing of the entire season. With United's best 2-fixture run behind them, we'll have more clarity on aspects such as minute certainty for Maguire and attacking output concentration among Mbeumo, Cunha and Šeško, without the short-term need to hold our current assets. The fixture against City also provides the ideal off-point for Maguire, should it be the right fit. And then on to Chelsea, who were a deliberate omission in Game Weeks 1 to 3. They have a highly regarded new manager in Xabi Alonso, no European football, and several highly capable attacking players. Palmer and João Pedro offer one of the highest upside double-ups in the league when they're both in form, while Palestra is an exciting prospect if deployed as a wing-back in Alonso's system. But there are also some major unknowns. We're only just starting to see how Chelsea set up under Alonso, and we're lacking key information around Palmer's fitness. Their opening 3 fixtures give us time to collect information, and then in Game Week 4, their fixtures do a complete 180, making this the perfect on-point to be picking up these players. And if our players perform and we avoid injuries, we can bank transfers and make 2 or 3 targeted changes to bring in Palmer, João Pedro and even Palestra, while preserving the wildcard for a wider structural change later on. But that doesn't mean that we have to. So here is the very long-term example of what a Game Week 4 wildcard squad could look like. We'll start by activating the chip and preparing to swap at least 9 of our 15 players. We'll then swap to a 3-5-2 and start from the bench with McNally, Destin and Nico Williams, placing Nico Williams first. This allows us to redistribute funds away from Petrovic, who would have been permanently bound to the bench, and Wright, whose best fixture is now behind him, to the rest of the squad. McNally's on loan already for the rest of the season, so should be protected from price drops, a luxury not afforded to the likes of the most popular 4 million goalkeeper, Dubravka. And then continuing with reliable long-term investment into the back line, we'll pick up Gabriel, Timber and Canvo in defence. This gives us the chance to reach Gabriel and the hopefully recovered Timber, 2 assets whose price make them very difficult to reach with single free transfers, plus Canvo for Palace's strong fixture run if he continues his high rate of DEFCON from last season. And lastly in midfield, we've gone all out with the best budget picks in Njai, Gross and Tavernier. 3 assets with numerous routes to points, historical attacking output and possible penalty share. They also highlight the benefit of a wildcard at this point, choice. We don't need to start with Njai in the event that he sees a move away from Everton before the end of the transfer window. We don't need to hold Gross through a tougher first 3 fixtures. We can gauge Tavernier's penalty share and attacking output under new management. We could even opt for Sangare or switch to a 3-4-3 to target a real budget pick like 5 million midfielder Gomez of Brighton. The Game Week 2 Bench Boost and optional Game Week 4 Wildcard combination offers a huge amount of flexibility in a season where uncertainty is higher than it's ever been. We can pick players that we trust now, gather more information as the opening games are played, and then hop on the best long-term assets from there if we haven't got them already. So with that all said, let's now head back to Game Week 1 to discuss captaincy, looking at predicted points courtesy of Solio Analytics. And there are only really 2 horses in this race, Haaland and Bruno. Bruno offers the standout fixture, while Haaland offers a formidable upside. We don't know for sure at present whether Haaland is going to be fully ready for 90 minutes by Game Week 1. In that event, we'll almost certainly captain Bruno, and if minutes or even his place in the starting lineup are a major doubt, it may even be time to consider a full team rip-up as we redistribute his record high 15.5 million price tag to other areas of the pitch. And to shamelessly plug it again, if you haven't already checked out FPLjoe.com, this is exactly what it's there for. Last season, trends in the projected goal charts in the final 24 hours leading up to 2 separate fixtures in Game Week 36 and 38 both indicated a benching for Haaland, and in both that's exactly what happened. You can be certain I'll be following these odds in my debut Game Week 1 deadline stream, and I'll look forward to seeing you all there. But beside any unexpected deadline chaos, based on what we know now, my armband is on Haaland. As the go-to set and forget captain, we'll still expect him to be well above 150% effective ownership in Game Week 1. Unless you're the kind of manager who welcomes this kind of 50-50 risk, where 2 drastically different effectively owned players offer the same expected value, the most reliable option is to start solid and let your overall team composition do the talking in Game Week 1. Bruno therefore receives the vice-captain this week. And that concludes my very first video of the season. I only post once a week, summarising all of my research and analysis into a single video you can watch to catch up on all of the latest info. So get subscribed now to see my final draft when it drops next week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.